Oh, typical. Sorry, phone.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll stay here. You.
All right. Just line warning us.
Yay! What a way to start live. Oh, it's Friday. Hello, everyone. We will hang out for a little bit, wait for people to come along to the YouTube and the Facebook channels. I'll introduce myself while we wait. Hi, I am Angeli, Marketing and Publicity Manager for Aconyte Books. If you've been watching these regularly on a Friday, then you'll already know who the hell I am. But I have a guest with me. Who are you, David? Tell us a bit about you.
I'm David Guymer, and I wrote the... Gosh, that's a large jug. And I wrote the Shield of Daqan book that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
World.
What else have you done, though? Tell us a bit more about you.
So, also for Aconyte, I wrote a story for the Keyforge anthology, which came out last year. I forget now, all the years and months have all kind of...
I know, it's just a blur.
That was last year. And I've written a lot of books as well for Warhammer 40,000, for Black Library.
Yay. Okay, so as you mentioned, we are here to talk about the Shield of Daqan. Let me... Yes, woo! So this is our new novel set in the Descent world. So those of you that are familiar with our work, the other title that we have is by Robin McNiven, and it is the Doom of Falahurth. But for new people, can you maybe give us a little bit of info into the setting and sort of the aim of the game, and then obviously the setting of the book as well?
So the setting is, it's kind of a familiar looking sort of pseudo-medieval fantasy setting. Got all those sort of familiar fantasy races, you know, all the elves and goblins and kobolds are all in there. But it does have its own sort of history and its own sort of magic and gods and mythology, and so a lot of those races have a bit of a twist on them, like orcs, sort of all villainous in Descent. And you asked about the game. I'm afraid I don't know too much about the game, because so what happens in the board game, I'm not too sure. But I'm more familiar with the lore from the RPG and some of that.
Oh yeah, I always forget that there's an RPG as well. The Realms of Terrinoth. I always forget that it also has that source as well.
Yeah, that's much more what I'm familiar with than the box game.
Well, tell us a little bit about the RPG then. I'll fill in some gaps with the
RPG. Anyway, apart from what I've sort of already gone into, that it's a sort of it's a fantasy world, and
it follows the FFG Genesis system for dice rolling, which for anyone who plays their Star Wars games, it's got a very special weird dice that I don't understand 100%. And when we played the Keyforge game, I did have to cheat. Yes. Yeah, because those dice are confusing. Yeah, I'm not great with that. But they also use the same system for the L5R RPG as well. So it's like the FFG mechanics they use for all of their stuff.
Yeah, and you've got your races and classes, and you build a party, and master up, and away you go.
Yeah, it's a bit like D&D, I suppose, in that sort of setting, that it's that high fantasy, high magic, swords and sorcery type adventure. That sounds about right. And the game is very much the same. It's like a dungeon crawl type adventure with miniatures and cards, and you just you sort of follow a story, fight some bad guys. For anyone who has played Gloomhaven, it's very much in that sort of same style, as you have a character who then progresses as you progress through the story. Yeah, it's good fun. So tell us a bit about the book, because that's what we're really here for. We're here for the book. Tell us about the book. Tell us about the book.
So we mentioned Descent world. So the world of Descent is called Minara, and the main sort of area, at least the main playing game area of Minara, has lots of continents. Some that I don't think you even see in the main maps in the book. But the main area is a human kingdom called Terrinoth, which is in the middle. It's kind of like Europe, I suppose. And this book is set in one sort of corner of Terrinoth on the eastern border, where everything's a bit grim and it's a bit close to lots of dangers. So over in the east, there's this place called the Darklands, where sort of the horrible demonic evils of this world sort of live and spill through and infect people, and people worship the demons. And so at the start of this story, this barony called Kell is it's had a long period of famine, and they've had a lot of troubles that they're dealing with, and this is all just running up to when sort of the evil is coming. Basically, the winter is coming, you could say. and so at this time we have various heroes coming to Kell for their own reasons, and they happen to be here as heroes tend to be when heroes are needed to confront this and try and save Kell and save Kell, save Terrinoth. Oh, sorry, back.
The baby parrot has come. Excellent. Well, let me show off the cover for this book, because it is a rather beautiful cover. So here it is. If you haven't seen it before, everyone.
So here we have our heroes, Andira Runehand, front and center, facing our way, and facing away, too cool to even look at us, is hero number 2, Trenloe the Strong.
He looks strong. I like, this is how you know it's sort of that got that D&D-esque feel to it, because all the names are very descriptive of like what you should expect. Like, oh yes, he should be strong because that is his name, and she must have some sort of rune on her hand. Interesting. Yeah. And that artwork is by Jeff Chan, who is fantastic and did the artwork for the Doom of Falahir. I'm going to pop Jeff's website into the chat. I highly recommend you go and have a look at this, especially this particular link, because this will take you straight to the Shield of Daqan page, where he's got a whole load of sketches and like initial sort of concept ideas and things for this cover. It's really cool, so you can have a look at how the different ideas sort of progress into this finished bit. And I remember when we got these, and we would talk about the different styles and be like, okay, I like that bit of that bit, but that bit, and also make that bigger. We want that big right there, looking scary. So do go and check out Jeff's page. And hopefully, I've been talking to him today, actually. He's going to come and do an artist interview panel. So we're going to talk about some of his work, which would be pretty cool. And I've just seen as well that Tristan is in the chat. Hey, Tristan. And yes, you spotted Terabithia flying off to cause havoc and mayhem somewhere else. Now, the book itself is available now in paperback in the USA. It's unfortunately about 6 weeks behind in the UK, so it won't be out until, let me check my calendar. It's April the 15th it will be out. So it's a little bit behind at the moment.
Ebook everywhere, is that right?
And ebook is everywhere, yes. So if you cannot wait to read it, and you shouldn't wait, you should go get it. You can go pick it up in ebook in any place where you normally pick up your ebooks from. And that is available globally. And then after you've read it and you think, gosh, that was amazing, you then buy it in paperback as well, so that you've always got it. And then when you come to an event that we have David at, you can get him to sign it, because you can't sign an ebook, so you need that paperback.
And one day we will have events again.
Yes, one day there will be events again. Yes. Well, people are saying that UK Games Expo should be going on at the end of July. So we shall see. We shall see. Just trying to stay optimistic. Yes, I popped a link as well to our website if you want to find out more about the book and where to buy it. There are links on the book page there as well. So we touched very, very briefly on who these characters were. Can you tell us a bit more about each of the characters without giving away too much and no spoilers, but tell us a bit more about those if people who aren't Descent, the board game fans, they won't have heard these names before, will they?
Can we have the cover up again, perhaps?
Oh, yes. Let's pop that.
So yeah, Andira here at the front. Can't see the Runehand. Must be the Runehand she's holding her halberd with, or poleaxe. I think I describe it as in the book. So she is a holy warrior with sort of a. She has a connection to the gods of Terrinoth or of Manara, and she's very driven. Her backstory is that she has travelled all over Terrinoth, following some destiny that she believes she has, but she doesn't quite know what it is. That she'll know it when she gets there, sort of thing. And she has a following of people who, basically, her conviction and her power have inspired them to follow her and try and chase this destiny with her. So that's what she's doing in Kell right now. And Trenloe, at the back there, he is a mercenary leader, but he's not really interested in he's not doing it for the money. He's got other people sort of around him who make sure that he doesn't impoverish himself. But he's basically out to do good and to do what good he can, basically. And he has travelled all across Terrinoth because a lord in Kell who's in trouble, hasn't got enough soldiers, has sent away for a famous hero and some soldiers. So that's what he's doing there. And so they're doing different things, and they don't start together, but events in Kell and battles and coolness bring them together at the end of the book.
The power of plot brings them. Excellent. So as I sort of mentioned, they're not brand new heroes that have come out of your brain. They are characters who already exist in the board game, the core set, I believe, at least Andrea Cheetah does. So why did you go with heroes that would have been known for the board gamers rather than create your own heroes?
So it's, I guess, especially when you do something for the first time. I mean, this is, I guess, the second book, but still pretty a new thing, doing fiction in a sense. It's good to have something that people who know the game will recognize. I think I was given a list of good suggestions for who to use. So it wasn't always going to be these two. I can't now remember who the others were or why I chose these two. It's so long ago now. But something about them I liked. I don't know why. I did enjoy writing about them, especially Trenloe. I quite like writing Trenloe. And it's probably just mainly that first reason. I think good to have something that people will always recognize. And it's not as if there's actually that much on them. I mean, there was some art, and there is sort of a few entries on a card, but there's not like a huge biography on a gaming card. So there's still quite a lot of freedom within that to then sort of put your own ideas in.
Yeah, I went and had a little Google to see what I could find about them, and I found the official wiki page for each of the characters. So I've had a little read through of it. I was very excited to see that at the bottom they linked the Shield of Daqan as being a new place where they've been appearing. I was like, yes.
I have to go on the wiki because obviously I've been on the wiki.
That's very exciting.
I was.
Yeah, that's very cool for me.
Go on. So someone's read it.
Yes. I mean, it got excellent reviews, so I know that a lot of people have read it because I get to control who reads a review copy of it. It's people very much liked it. Tristan says in games like this, I love to feel like the characters have more history and story in them than what's just on the board. I think that's true. I think that's what we at Aconyte are trying to do, is to make some of these characters that you sort of know, give them flesh them out a bit more, make them a bit more of something substantial.
And that's
I know that I'm going to
is for, isn't it? That's our job, really.
Yeah. And one of my things I'm going to be starting doing is turning our characters into sort of figures that you can use in other things. So I will be turning your characters into NPCs for the Terrinoth game and things like that. So I'll be fleshing out their stat blocks and things, and having people actually bring them into Terrinoth with their Shield of Daqan backgrounds going on, which is going to be very exciting. So, whereabouts in sort of the canon of the games does this story fit?
So my understanding is that it is and Robbie's as well, I believe, it's a bridge from previous edition of the Descent box game to the new. Is that, am I correct in my
yes.
my impression?
Yes, so yeah, so we have the second edition, which is where you find these characters, and then the new box, which I just flashed up there, the Legends of the Dark, which is an absolute beast, is coming out in August at Gen Con. And these books are sort of a link between the two, so it's a nice little bridge that sort of fills in some of the gaps in the story. And
one of the reasons I was given the choice of characters I was given is I think there were certain characters that had things to do or places to go that could tell this bridging story.
Yeah, you know, it'd be rubbish if you told a story and then they were like, oh yeah, they're like super dead in the next one. It's like, oh, ruined. But yeah, so that's quite exciting. And then from then onwards, all of our books will then start to be set in the Legends of the Dark sort of area, so that they follow the new game instead of the Journeys in the Dark second edition. Very exciting. So how do you go about researching for a tie-in novel like this with there isn't a lot of background on the characters, you get given a source book, but how do you go about researching, fleshing that world out more?
So, yeah, we mentioned the Realms of Terrinoth RPG. That was my main source, and it is a big source. I mean, an RPG book is always sort of incredibly detailed and broad as well as deep. And so I read that a couple of times, and so that then gives you that feel for the world as well as, you know, that's a cool idea as I read this and just scribble that down and into my big ideas vault. And for the characters, I mean there was some art, you could sort of look at that and think what they're like, and the wikis that was pretty much where I went as well. And so just teasing it out. So I can't remember now exactly what was written in the wiki, but so for Andira, right, you know, she has the rune in her hand, and that's more or less it.
Yeah, you get some stats for it, and that's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So then, so where does it come from, and who was she? What's her goal? This is all sort of stuff that you can then extrapolate from what little there is, and I always find that really satisfying. Starting with something, right, not from a complete blank slate, but having a little bit of something and making your own workings then fit within that framework. I find that very rewarding when it comes off.
And was FFG sort of easy to work with in that way when you wanted to flesh out these characters for them, like going to them with ideas and things? Was that an easy process?
I never spoke to them directly, barring perhaps a few comments left on first draft manuscripts, but they seemed happy enough with the characters. I think they liked what was as I said, sort of taking a little thing and then where they ended up. But
so you do most of your stuff through Lottie, don't you? So it's Lottie that actually speaks to FFG for you.
It's my bridge. It's my translator to the side.
So I have a question. There's a very angry looking dragon on this novel. I mean, most dragons do look angry. As a rule for dragons, they should always look a bit mean. But what's the deal? Why is it so angry? Why is everything on fire, man?
Why is he angry?
Without spoilers.
So he's a very, very old dragon. And so he is here in Kell, basically, without spoilers, he wants to destroy the bloodline of the current Baron of Kell, because one of his distant ancestors is a famous hero who famously slew a dragon. So famous that he's called Roland Dragonslayer. And
of course he is.
And so, because as we said, they always have very obvious names. And so he is basically here to kill him, kill everything he loves, kill everything he cares about, destroy his bloodline forever, salt the earth, so on and so forth.
Excellent.
Very, very cross.
Yes, very, very angry. Oh, well, yeah, I was very excited to see the dragon. And that was one of the things that we were like, make it bigger, make it bigger. When the like initial sketches came, it was like in the distance. We were like, no, bring him forward, make him bigger. We want to see him.
Yeah, when the people commissioning the artwork were in touch with me, like for some suggestions of what to go on the cover, they're like, let's put the dragon on. Let's put the dragon on. Dragons are always awesome on cover.
Yeah. Dragons are always awesome on all things. Which is why I put like the little shadows on our little screenshot thing for the advert for this. It's like, yeah, dragon shadows, all the dragons. Yay. Okay, so our heroes, have they told their story? Is this over for them, or do you feel like they've still got more stories to tell in the world?
I would love to write more Adventures of Andira and Trenloe. I hope to be allowed. So they're definitely sort of set up in a place where they could continue having more adventures together. Like I said, they don't start together, but they do come together over the course of the novel, of course, as you'd hope, since they're back to back on the cover. But so yeah, I think it would be fantastic.
Yay! Cool, excellent. That is very good to know. Very excited, and it's good that you think that they could tell their stories still together rather than having now telling separate stories. That they're now firm fighting friends.
Yeah, because I mean, for most of it, one or other is a great hero in a company of mere common garden heroes, and so so putting them together then becomes a big thing for them, like being in the presence of an equal.
Yes. Oh, that's my doorbell. I'm going to ignore it. So
It's probably just
Robbie. Yeah, I think it's just from Amazon. Yeah, so Robbie also wrote a story in the Descent world. Did you work with him at all, or not work with him, but talk to him at all about things that went on in his story whilst you were writing your novel? Because I'm not sure it was out at the time you were writing your novel.
Yeah, not so much. I think let it go. I can talk to myself. Yeah, talking to Robbie. So I mean, we did know each other pretty well from our Black Library works. So we did speak a bit when we were pitching, but not so much once we actually started because our books were in different places with different characters. I did some of my characters do end up in the sort of the vicinity of where Robbie's book was set. So I did ask him if, because there was no name for the lord of that barony in the book. So I just asked him if he'd named him or her, and he hadn't. So that was it. That was the and I've not read it yet, actually.
It's good. It will kick you in the feels and it will destroy you a little bit, but in a really good way that books definitely should try and do. It's a good one. So Tristan asks, without spoiling anything, what's the one thing you'd like to say about this book that you haven't had a chance to say yet?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, we've talked about the two heroes because they're game heroes, but they're not the only two main characters in the book, and the others are pretty cool. So there's Kurt, who's a farmer and a retired soldier who lives on this dangerous border with sort of two sons and a dead wife, and his story is I quite like that one. And we have the bandit Queen Grey Fox, who was quite fun to write as well. So she's an elf who is I talked about there are other problems going on in Kell, and one of them is banditry, and the sort of the biggest of the bandits is an elf called the Grey Fox.
Oh, that's a good name.
So she was quite fun to do as well. And yeah, I did love the cast of supporting characters. I always love my supporting characters, sometimes more than my main characters, and I want to I want to then then write stories about them. And I can't. I have to be disciplined.
Oh, maybe one day you will. just a band of support people just watching an epic battle go on from the point of view of just a support character.
And that quality of the side characters of Shield of Daqan, that can have
Okay, so what's your favorite thing about writing tie-in fiction?
I think I sort of mentioned it earlier. I like having that little sort of that seed idea, sort of. I'm going to say handed to you. That sounds like a cheating somehow, but you know, seeing that idea, that premise, that line or two of lore that then has to have a story made out of it. But then within that story, there are rules to follow, and being creative and making a story, but also having it fit within all those rules. I enjoy doing that. And I'd say if I have to have one favorite thing, sort of seeing that come off would be it.
And on the flip side, what are the challenges and how do you overcome them?
So coming into this for me, it was a whole new setting. So like I said, I've still not played the Descent game, and I wasn't familiar with the lore. So coming in like that, although there is a sort of liberation to doing something like that for the first time, going in fresh and not having any sort of preconceptions, there is a lot of homework to do. Get yourself from 0 to 60 on a new IP is hard, especially when you've got to start writing.
Yes.
Do other writing.
Yes, I can imagine because you've written quite a few sort of books within the Black Library that you're more familiar with that sort of setting now. And then having to come with something new where you're like, oh, I don't know any of this. It takes up a bit more time than normally would if you sat down to write some grimdark Warhammer stuff.
Yeah, and I played Warhammer as a child as well, so it's all internalized now. But I mean, it's great because there's only been one book done on this now, and I wasn't out when I started, so I had nothing. So everything I did, I could do from the ground up. I could make stuff, and it didn't have to fit with what someone else had written 10 years ago. And it's very freeing and liberating.
That's true. I mean, it's just going to be like in 10 years' time, you're going to have to remember what you did in this one and make sure you don't. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the chat now. So something I did want to ask you is something that we've been sort of chatting about, slightly joking online, but something I'm definitely going to be working on getting sort of put together is I want to do a painting stream with you and Robbie, painting up some Descent characters, hopefully from the new game, but like from any of the expansions or anything, just because I think it'll be really good fun. I can try and teach you some tricks and tips about painting, and we can have a chat about Descent and also anything else that you're working on. Did you have a character you'd like to paint up?
My little painting. Oh, I can get it unblurred. There we go. That's my. The quality of my thing is not good enough. Not good enough to capture the.
Yeah, I have a special look-down camera for painting miniatures.
I'd say I'm a 5 out of 10 on my painting skills.
You get in there. You got loads of time to improve. I still put myself at like a 5 out of 10, but I'm working on a different scale.
Okay, I have 2 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, I looked at all the miniatures when I was writing because I had to see what like a Uthuk grotesque looks like, and the war chanter and the guys with the flags on bone spikes sticking out of their shoulders. War sprinters, I think, are those ones. I really fancied, and this is what I mentioned in the tweet that I think set all this off, that wouldn't mind painting up some Daqan knights in the colours for Kell that I described in the book. Would be cool. And if there were miniatures if there's a miniature for Trenloe, I'd be all over that. FFG.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do like a little search and see what heroes are available and see if they've got like just a random box of heroes that have like from boxes that have been broken and things. It's like, can you just send us some? And we'll see what we can paint. And it'll be really awesome. And I will enjoy it a lot. Yeah, and if not, there's like 6 new heroes in the new box that they've been talking about. So we can get some heroes maybe together for the new box. So I'm very excited. Chat should also tell me like who you want to see paint up. What characters you want us to see? I can't walk. I can't even talk.
Do they want us to paint?
That's the one.
Do they want to paint?
Oh dear, it's Friday. But yeah, tell me, tweet it to me, send me an email, tell me what we should be painting and who.
Paint what they want.
Well, we'll see. I'll see what the suggestions are before I go. We're just going to do what we want. So I do have 2 questions from Twitter. If anyone has any questions, now is the time to plonk them in the chat. But I have 2 from Matthew Sylvester on Twitter, who asks, what gave you the idea for the novel, and how did you go about pitching that novel to Aconyte?
Okay, so the idea, FFG gave me the idea for the novel. So first off, so I sort of made myself known to Aconyte. I think Aconyte were just starting up and were advertising for experienced writers or interested writers, and I put myself in, and they decided, presumably from knowing my stuff, I guess, that I'd be good for Descent. So then I did all that reading that we talked about, and sort of pitched a load of ideas. Like, these are great, but have this idea. Okay, I'll do that. That's great. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Like I said, I like to be given a frame of an idea and create something off it. And what was the other one? That was kind of it, isn't it? That's kind of
yeah. How did you go about pitching it? The other way around. It wasn't really pitched.
Backwards, yeah, pitched. So yeah, and then I was given this idea. I think it was what they wanted was a couple of this group of 5 heroes that they suggested, perhaps, and that they fight to save Kell. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the book came from that. Just thinking it through. Where do they start? I guess it starts with figuring out who the characters are, what they're doing there, and then weaving these 4 or 5 character threads together to make a plot.
Excellent.
I'm pitching it.
I shall let Matthew know that he can come on and watch this and find out the answers to those.
Or you can ask me. So he doesn't follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, that's true. He did put the questions in like our Twitter feed, so you can also answer there. But come on, rewatch this video. Rewatch the video. That's what I need. I need to sit all the way through to the end and wait and get the answers. Please and thank you. Okay, before we go, have you got anything else you want to plug? Anything that's going down, anything you're working on, it's coming out soon? Doesn't have to be Aconyte based, but feel free to tell people about the things and the stuff.
Oh, I don't know, it's crazy times. I've been homeschooling all today.
Fun.
So I am working on another novel for Aconyte. Can't say too much about it just yet.
Soon, I promise.
I've seen a cover. It's the save screen on my phone.
Nice.
Replaced my daughter. The cover of my forthcoming book. I am working on another novel for Black Library as well. So yeah, homeschooling, 2 books at the same time, easy.
It's fun times. So do you actually get any time to write? Because I imagine that homeschooling takes up like the whole day. Like, when do you write?
Yeah, so I have a couple of days when my girlfriend's here. I mean, she's not at work. She's a doctor, so she is still at work, but she's only part-time. So I've got a couple of days where she does it, and I'm better now because I have to be doing a bit of work in the evenings, even though I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
in the mornings before we start. That's it.
Crazy times. Well, I salute you, because normally I do have to paint in the evenings, but I am like, I don't have to really paint. I can just sit on the sofa all evening.
Yeah, so when she goes down to bed, I'd much rather be watching a bit of TV or playing a bit of Spider on the PlayStation. But no, I better work for 45 minutes because it's all I've got.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Oh. But yeah, I suppose you've got that until like March time at least. Depending on how things go. Who knows? Who knows? Oh, well, you're doing amazing.
Cross our fingers. There they are.
Come on. But yeah, you're doing awesome. We think you're awesome.
Thank you.
Just keep doing the cool writings, and when you can, don't worry about it. But yay! So yes, that is the end of the show today. So thank you everyone for coming along, hanging out with us. I shall remind you again, the Shield of Daqan. Ooh, pretty cover. You can find it on our website, aconytebooks.com, and then you just search for it. You can follow that link there as well. Yeah, it's out now. It's out now for ebooks and US paperback, and it'll be with us in April in the UK. But thank you very much for coming along and for doing this. I appreciate you taking the time out of your Friday when you should be writing to come waffle on and talk with me. So I appreciate that a lot.
Nice break. Talk to an adult.
Yes, I am grown up. It's nice as well, because normally I'm just talking to my bird, so it's just nice to have someone who talks back at me.
Yay!
Yay! Oh, a kitty this time. You've got a cat.
So
you got a kitty and a puppy. And
that dog is finding really small is full grown. This one is a kitty.
Oh.
Probably wants his dinner.
I see. Me too. I'm with Kitty. Right. Well, I shall let you get on then and get on with the rest of your Friday. Have a lovely weekend. And thank you everyone for coming along. And we will see you next week. Goodbye.